Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 61. Dan and I have been challenged to pick our all-time England greatest 23, and here it is. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Welcome back, guys. The England Rugby Pod is sponsored by Leo Vape. No, it's not really. We wouldn't waste your time forcing you to listen to the same old shit as everyone else. Instead, it's the usual. I'm here with Dan. Hello, mate.
Hackers, Andre, how's it going, mate? How's the preparation for our for the boys' Christmas lunch coming for the weekend?
Oh, you know, a little bit of cooking, a little bit of cleaning, not much else. Mostly by the wife.
I hate to admit this, but your roasts are pretty special.
In which case, I'm sorry to say we're not having one.
Oh, no, that is a shame.
You'll have to leave that until Christmas Day, but it'll be good. It'll be good to catch up with everybody.
Yeah, no, for sure. But everything else, all okay? It's such a hectic week. It's such a hectic time of year, isn't it? With everything going on, and sort of sometimes for rugby. I mean, did you watch it this weekend? Did you have a look at?
No, it was like you say, one of those weekends I just didn't have time for anything, really. So no, I didn't catch any of the rugby. But obviously, yeah, in the last episode you were talking, about the poor results by English teams and the fact they've all got a follow up. I'm assuming that's what we had last weekend, is it?
I think two of the English teams won this weekend from memory. Wasps had a great result against La Rochelle, and I can't remember who the other one was. But never mind. We'll crack on because we've got other things to touch base on.
We do. Well, look, guys, we did say it was going to be a Q&A this week, and we asked you for your questions, and obviously we got so many questions. But we've decided to put the Q&A on hold until the new year, just give you a little bit more time for those that haven't yet had a chance to ask us anything, to get your questions in, because we've had I guess it's a review. He's actually asked us how he can give us a review on iTunes. I've talked him through that process, but we had a message from Johnny Woodward. Sir Clyde's alter ego, perhaps? Probably not.
JW.
I like it. Johnny Wilkinson. The Johnny of Wilkinson with the Woodward of Sir Clive. However you want to look at it, Johnny Woodward has said, just wanted to say I love the podcast. Stumbled upon you by accident during the Autumn Internationals and glad I did, as of course so are we. I find the topics you discuss and the style way more interesting than many other podcasts. I'm going to change that to any other podcasts. He says, I'd have you guys discuss an England all-time 15, past and present. It'd be interesting to hear you debate different players or, in fact, choose the same team. Please let me know where I can review the pod. 5 stars. So awesome feedback from you there, Johnny. And yeah, we just decided, you know what, put the Q&A on hold and do that anytime. This sounded like a far more interesting episode for us as well as hopefully for the listeners.
I love this stuff. And firstly, Johnny, good man. You are a man of impeccable taste. And let me know when I can buy you a beer sometime. But I love this stuff, like the England sort of doing, the past and present, debating the teams of yesteryear compared to now. Obviously, we need to do, there's the sort of sensitivity of its impact of their era rather than what would they be now? Because that's just, you just can't compare, can you?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, what we've said is they have to have played for England during our lifetimes. So we're looking at kind of the early 80s.
Easy.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. The early 80s could be anything onwards. So kind of just crossing over with the professional era. There might be the odd one or two that played no or little time in the professional game, but they're there or thereabouts. So we're really looking, I guess, at 3 kind of core groups. You've got the Will Carling era, you've got the 2003 guys, and then obviously the present. So we're going to put our team together. And Dan and I have purposely not discussed any of the players that we want to put in our team. There will undoubtedly be some very obvious examples of players that we both have picked straight off the bat, no questions asked. But I suspect, we shall find out, that there will be some a few that require debating. And I think I've been thinking about this. I think we have to come up with a 23. I know Johnny said 15, but we're going to come up with a 23. And our goal of this episode is to agree a 23. So, if there are differences of opinion, it's going to be a question of how good your debating skills are to see who gets in.
Yeah, it's going to, especially as sort of time's not necessarily on our side, because obviously you've got work, you've got a meeting at 3, and I want to go and try and hit on my neighbour's daughter once we're done. So let's go for it, mate, and let's hope we can agree quickly and efficiently.
Quickly and efficiently. That sounds like the way things will pan out with your neighbour's daughter.
I don't know, mate. I tell you exactly how it'll pan out. It'll pan out with me walking back to my house, but it'll be nice to be rejected by
being escorted back by the police.
Let's not rule that out.
So yeah, I think let's kind of just crack straight on with this. I'm not really sure. We don't want it to sound like we're just listing players, although you've obviously got your list in front of you and I've got mine in front of me. But
well, that would be the ideal scenario.
Let's start with the front row. Get them out the way. For me, the first one, and at number 1, and with more caps than anyone else in my selection, it's surely got to be Jason Leonard.
Good start, mate. Good start.
114 caps, played from 1990 to 2004. It's a pretty solid. Pretty solid amount of experience there. Is he the most capped England player of all time?
I think he is, mate. Yeah, I think so.
I'm trying to think. Johnny's got 91.
Is that all?
Yeah.
I thought he had more.
No. So Jason Leonard. I think Jason Leonard was the first.
I'm sure he is.
I think he was the first guy in world rugby to go past 100 caps. But he's obviously since been exceeded in terms, in world rugby. I think with the most caps now is about 140 odd, isn't it? By the old New Zealand captain, Richie McCaw.
Richie McCaw.
I think he was 140 something. But yeah, I think Jason Leonard was the first to surpass 100 caps in world rugby. But I think he is the most capped England player of all time with 114. So yeah. Anyway.
Okay, let's go to the other prop.
Okay, who have you got?
I've gone Vickery.
Interesting. So I've actually got Vickery on the bench, and I've gone Jeff Probyn.
Okay. Oh, please stop right there. Jeff Probyn.
Jeff Probyn. 88 to 93. He's the one that only just kind of squeezes in terms of the era. But the reason being that when he was playing rugby, he was kind of a bit of a kind of a new breed of prop at the time. And so I kind of feel like he would fit in more with the game today. And so I know that I'm sort of mixing.
We're trying to... Mate, I have to stand here. Vickery, World Cup winner.
Who's on your bench?
Legend. Mako. Yeah, I'm afraid. Because actually I had a chat with Coops about this, and we were chatting, and I said thing, and I must admit, Jeff Probyn didn't even come up in the discussion.
You didn't know his name, did you? You don't know who he is.
He's Fatty Blondie, I believe they call him.
He was renowned for being small.
Are you happy? Do you want to fight Probyn over Vickery? Does Vickery not?
No, not at the moment. I've put a little asterisk next to it. I want to come back to it. I think we should go through all of these and then we can argue our cases. I may not be, but at the moment I like the fact that let's finish. Let's go to the hooker and we'll come back to this in a minute.
Who have you gone?
I've gone Brian Moore.
So I thought that, but I actually went, and I think mine's a bit left field. I actually went Phil Greening.
Interesting.
I just the way he was, how he would sort of, he was almost like a centre sometimes. I
won't lie. I'm not convinced that what you're looking for in your hooker is the skills of a centre, but I hear what you're saying.
I just thought the impact he had at hooker was so great. So the three I was looking at was Phil Greening, Brian Moore, and Steve Thompson.
Yeah. Well, I've got Steve Thompson on my bench. Along with the old, Mr. Woodman, who's also on my bench.
Have you got Trev on the bench?
I've got Trev on the bench. So I've actually got the World Cup, the 2003 World Cup final, starting front row as my finishers.
Oh, interesting.
So I've gone Leonard, Moore, Probyn starting the game, and then I've gone Woodman, Thompson, Vickery. Now I'm not against losing Probyn, but I quite like the idea of having the World Cup winning front row to finish the game. But obviously, yeah, if we're losing, if I'm losing Probyn and moving Vickery to the start, then you know you can't. You can never be upset about the idea of Mako. So I guess Mako could join the World Cup boys and finish the game.
Let's do that.
Okay, so we're saying Vickery starts the game with Leonard.
Yeah, I'm happy to go Moore.
Good. So Brian Moore and then Thompson on the bench.
Cool.
So Mako moves to the bench. Okay, so our front row is Jason Leonard, Brian Moore, Phil Vickery, and they're supported by Trevor Woodman, Steve Thompson, and Mako Vunipola. Is that are we happy with that?
I think Trevor Woodman, great player, but I think he's done well to get in that. But
I think the thing with Trevor Woodman, there are two main reasons for this. One, I think his career was marred by injury. I mean, he only had 22 caps, but when he wasn't injured, he was shaping up to be one of the best props in the world.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant.
And two, we've been trying for a long time to get him on the show, and I figure if we can include him in our England all-time 23, that might just give us a little bit of an extra nudge to get him on the show. And
he had the fierce unibrow stare as well, didn't he?
Very fierce, dangerous almost. So that's my reasoning. I feel like that's a good enough reason.
I'll back that.
Okay, so let's move on. We've kind of done away with the area of the game that we know the least about, but I'm happy with where we got to. So the next one, and again, I'm going to suggest that we probably have both gone for the same number 4 and captain Martin Johnson.
Of course,
has to be.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
So Jono and captain, of course.
Yeah, so Jono's and captain. So my other one in the row, I've gone Marrow.
So have I. Jono and Marrow, youth and experience. I think that would be an awesome combo. I think Marrow Toje has proven, despite only having 14 caps or whatever it is for England, he's proven that he's unfazed, isn't he? He's quite happy to step in and do whatever he's told to do. And I think playing alongside Martin Johnson would just be amazing for him. I think he'd just bring even more out of the guy. I'm completely in agreement there. Who have you gone for as your second row replacement?
My second row replacement, I'll make a confession. I can't for the life of me find the sheet where I wrote it down on. I believe from memory I went Laws. Cool. No, I went Launchbury.
I went Launchbury as well. The thing with Joe Launch, I took myself through the Awesome Foursome and I looked at some of the guys from back in the day, the Ben Kays and so on. The thing with Joe Launchbury is he doesn't really ever have a bad game for England. He's so kind of solid. He's always man of the match or thereabouts.
Yeah, it's not just that he doesn't have a bad game; he doesn't not have a good game.
Yeah, and whether or not he's doing the same thing for Wasps, it seems to be irrelevant because when he puts on the white shirt, he just seems to. I don't know. It's like a sense of calm. He knows what he's got to do. He does it, and he does it really well, and he causes problems for opposition. He got man of the match against. Was it against Australia when we lost in the World Cup? It was one of those ones where it was just slightly unheard of. He got hammered by Australia and he still got man of the match. It's just crazy. So yeah, for me, he's got to be involved. And Launchbury any of those guys would do a job in this team. But Laws. But Launchbury, I think, is the one that for me earns the spot.
Yeah, I agree.
So Jono Itoje starting, Launchbury on the bench. The launch pad. Okay, so back row. So this was an interesting one.
This was.
Let's start with 8.
I went, and I think you'll disagree. I went low.
So I can't look past Billy Vunipola. I don't see how you can look past who in our opinion, as the England Rugby Pod, is the best number 8 in the world at the moment. In an era when rugby, and I know we're looking at the kind of the eras and people for what they were at the time. But surely, in any era, if you are the best in the world, you've got to be part of this team, haven't you?
Yeah, mate. I had Billy on the bench, and I completely get what you're saying. He is, I believe, the best number 8 in the world. I think that my thinking with Delalio was what else he brought to the team.
Yep.
Um, Whereas Billy, to me, slightly maybe edges it as a player, but Delalio was still an absolute awesome player. And the thing I'm thinking is that time against the Welsh when he drove back like 6 of them.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. It's why he's at number 6 for me.
Oh.
So for me, because I'm sensing, because I know that you have a lot of love for them, that you've gone World Cup 2003 back row.
I haven't actually.
Okay.
I have. To me, Richard Hill has to be number 6, though.
Okay, well, so I've done the opposite. I've gone Delalio at 6, back at 7, Hill on the bench.
For my money, I just think Delalio's an 8. I think he has to be. I think Delalio and Billy are 8s. I think they have to be 8 or nothing. I've gone Hill at 6. I actually went Winterbottom at 7.
Oh, that's going back a while, isn't it?
Yeah, but he was phenomenal.
But is that in our lifetime?
Yeah, God, yeah.
What was his stat? Was he the Brian Moore era?
Yeah, he was Brian Moore era, sort of Will Carling era. He was.
Of course he was.
He was just an absolute phenomenon. Like, he was a brilliant player. As a true 7, back's probably slightly better, so I don't mind conceding.
I mean, bear in mind that Delalio became an 8, but he was a 6.
Yeah, I can't look past Richard Hill. I'm sorry. I think he's.
I mean, I can't look past Billy. I can't not include the best player in the world.
I'll give you Billy if you give me.
So,
I'll give you Billy if you give me Richard Hill.
That's fine. So we're putting Delalio on the bench and calling him a finisher.
Yeah,
big call.
Yeah, exactly.
So Delalio moves to the bench. Hill moves to number 6, and back stays at 7, just because out and out 7. And I think particularly with Hill and back together, you've got where today it's a bit more of a sort of 6s and 7s are interchangeable. I think if you're going to go with the older breed, those guys were an out and out 6 and an out and out 7.
Yeah, I think so.
And Billy is an out and out 8.
Yeah. So I'm happy to have Billy there. Yeah.
Nice.
No, because he is. Of course, you're happy to have Billy there. He's awesome. Who have you gone for 9?
I've gone Dorse.
Okay.
I just thought he controlled the game. Generally, he just was so good. He was when you look at Youngs and Kerr, Dorse was the combination of the two of them.
I've gone Dawson as well, by the way. So.
Oh, good. Well, that makes life nice and easy. So who have you gone as your scrum half replacement?
I actually went Youngs.
See, I went Kerr because I was looking at it. I had my finisher's hat on, and I think Danny Kerr, certainly by his current standards, he's so good at finishing. Whether that's to his detriment or not.
So this is where I've probably slightly differed. I haven't picked the team based upon starters, finishers. I've based upon who I think the best 23 are.
Wow, you've picked incorrectly, my friend.
What
would you do if it was the other way around? What would you do if it was about the best 23 for, because you're picking a matchday squad?
If it's a matchday squad, I'd get the finishers. But if it's a matchday squad, I don't think Jeff Probyn's in the best shape I've ever seen. So,
mate, he's in some pretty good shape as far as this team is concerned. He's also been dropped, so I think we can move past him. Okay, I don't think you need to rub it in. He's heard that he's been dropped, and now he has to accept that and move on.
I've also got in my head that Jeff Probyn's a bit of a bell end. I don't know why, but I have got that in my head. But never mind. Yeah. So Young's Kerr. So I think the problem with this is because at the moment Kerr's just phenomenal. Over time, has he been better than Youngs?
I mean, he's the third highest capped English player involved at the moment. So that's that. I mean, I know that him and Youngs are there or thereabouts together. The thing with Danny Kerr and Ben Youngs is we've always said it. You're pretty much happy either way round. I think the question is who offers more coming on the pitch for 20 minutes, and that's the decision.
I'll give you Kerr. I'll give you Kerr.
But you're happy for that reason, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's nothing in it, and I think thinking about it, I think Young's is more like Dawson, so Kerr probably adds a different dimension.
Yeah. Okay, 10. I think we don't need to hang around too long here, Johnny.
Of course, Johnny.
Obviously. J Dubs, he is the obvious number 10. As far as we're concerned, he will forever be the world's greatest fly half, despite what any Kiwi might say.
He was the world's greatest fly half, definitely.
I mean, Dan Carter, you would think probably gives him a run for his money.
Yeah, Dan Carter's number 2. And I know everyone's like, oh, you're biased, Carter's better. He wasn't a better player. Like, Johnny added not so much more than Carter, but he does edge him.
He certainly had a more complete game. I mean, he was defensively, he was just a beast, which you don't expect from another 10. And then you add to that the kind of how clinical he was in all the other aspects of the game, and obviously he was a new breed of kicker as well. So yeah, he paved the way, and I don't even know why we're even talking about it, because there was never any question. 10, Johnny Wilkinson, locked in. That's done. So this is where we'll do the centres next. So I've gone Farrell at 12, and therefore no 10 replacement.
Okay.
And I suspect, I've got a feeling you might be doing something different.
I am doing something different. I've gone Billy 12 Trees. No, I went Greenwood with Farrell on the bench.
Greenwood at 12?
Greenwood was a 12.
Okay.
He's still the playmaker. He's, I believe, our second highest try scorer. He was such a threat. His defence was, he was defence captain, but then Owen Farrell's defence is awesome as well. This was my toughest one.
Yeah, and who did you have on the bench? Farrell?
Oh, yeah, I've had Farrell on the bench thinking he can cover Johnny and
centres.
Greenwood.
I mean, I've got the same the other way around. So I'm actually, you've given up a few. So I'm willing to say that experience trumps youth.
It feels wrong not having Owen Farrell there, but I genuinely thought about this one a while, and I kept coming back to Greenwood.
It's one of those where I think under normal circumstances you would always be angry not to include Owen Farrell, given where he is right now. And maybe if we did this again in a year or 18 months or possibly after the World Cup, we might think differently. But I'm okay with switching them around. So we're going to say Greenwood at 12.
Cool.
Can we look past Jerry Guscott at 13?
I went Guscott for 13.
I think you have to, don't you? Again, I mean, despite what we think of him now as a pundit, he's
a bit of a bellend, isn't he?
He's a total bellend. But he gets people talking, and maybe that's his remit. He's
so... I don't know what's going on. Like, I think his missus must be getting it off with the milkman or something. Like, he's just so angry at life.
True, but maybe that's what made him such a good rugby player back in the day. Maybe he's always been like that.
It was absolutely quality, yeah. I went Guscott as well, and actually that was a fairly easy choice for me.
Yeah, me too. There wasn't really anyone else that I felt strongly about including at 13. I mean, for the briefest of moments, I was going to say, for the briefest of moments, I did think, how interesting would it be to see Manu in that mix? But I don't think you need it. There's so much class there. You don't need a battering ram.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with that too. So that's Greenwood and Guscott in the centres, with Owen Farrell kind of covering them and 10. So that leaves us with the back three. This was actually where I felt the hardest for me. The first one I've gone for on the wing is Rory Underwood.
Same.
Highest try score count for England of all time, 49 versus joint second was Greenwood and someone else, can't think who, with 31. So, the difference, you're talking nearly 15 more tries than anyone else in English rugby history.
Yeah, I mean, you can't look beyond Underwood, I don't think. He has to have a place.
And then at 11, I've gone Jason Robinson.
Okay. I've had him at fullback.
So who have you gone at 11?
I struggled with this. I actually went Lucy.
So my initial thought Because actually, for the World Cup, I'm pretty sure that Robinson was on the wing, Lucy was at fullback.
That's correct.
So I've gone Robinson on the wing based on that. I've got Josh Lucy on the bench. And I've gone, wait for it, Mike Brown at fullback.
Oh, shut up.
Mike Brown...
Mike Brown is a good player.
Is the most capped fullback in English rugby history. If you look at him, rather than right now, if you look at his career, I'm talking Mike Brown, 2014.
It's got to be across his whole.
I know. But he's at that stage now where we're all thinking, he could retire from international rugby, and he's like one of those fighters that refuses to go down and eventually goes out on a low rather than on a high. But I just think he's an out-and-out fullback. There's a reason why, despite numerous changes, both in terms of the coaching staff and people playing in their various positions, to have the number of caps that he's got, and always at fullback. He's the most capped fullback by some way. The fullback's changed quite a lot over the years. And that's got to mean something.
It has. Here's my argument for Lucy. His hit on Matt Rogers.
Oh, yeah, that was the first reason why I was like, okay, I've got to include him. But yeah, so you would have Robinson and Lucy.
Yeah, and actually, you're right. I'd probably have Lucy fullback, Robinson other wing.
Then who would you have on the bench covering your back three?
Who did I? I can't remember. So I think my backs were, we've gone Danny Kerr, Owen Farrell, and I think I went Manu.
Oh, so you haven't got a back three cover?
Well, yeah, because people can move into that, can't they?
Well, I don't know.
It is a bit punchy, I'll give you that. Who have you gone?
Well, because I've got Mike Brown starting, I've got Josh Lucy covering wing/fullback. And I have got a big exclamation mark next to Mike Brown's name because I know it's controversial, particularly given some of the things that we've said about him.
We give Mike Brown a hard time. He is a good player. He's got
the same number of caps. He's one cap short of Jerry Guscott. He's got more caps than Greenwood. He's got more caps than Jason Robinson. He's got more caps than two caps short of Neil Back. More caps than Probin. He's got more caps than Woodman. He's got more caps than Greenwood, I've mentioned. More caps than Josh Lucy.
Do you know why he's got more caps than them?
I mean, you could argue that because there hasn't been anyone better. And there's more
why
games.
He's had more caps than them is because all those other people you mentioned were Lions and went on Lions tour where he never has.
Well, this is true. But that, yeah, I mean, that adds three extra caps every 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's huge, but are you saying somebody who couldn't make the Lions outs a World Cup winner and a Lion?
No, I think that's fair. Okay, so we're moving Josh Lucy back in at fullback. I say back in.
Yeah.
Lucy at fullback. But then we'd still need, in my opinion, a back three replacement on the bench.
Yeah.
Kerr, Farrell.
And
now I don't feel like Mike Brown is the man to. I don't feel like he's an impact player.
I don't think he is.
Start or don't. You're not.
I know exactly who I had.
Who?
I had Sinbad.
Really?
Yeah, Simpson Daniel. I just thought he was a unique talent, and I know that's out there.
Massively.
I'm happy.
I mean, that's like Billy 12 Trees out there.
It's not Billy 12 Trees out there. Billy should start.
You're weird. I can't do that.
That's all right. I won't. On that, at the time I was just like, do you know what? I think he was one of our most talented players, like naturally talented. He was quick as anything, but
bullshit.
He didn't. He didn't ever fully prove himself as an England player. So
I mean, what about someone like Ben Cohen, who's joint second highest try scorer of all time for England with Will Greenwood?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So we go Ben Cohen.
Yeah.
So then yeah, at least we've got the top 3 England try scorers of all time involved, possibly more than top 3. Okay, so our team, we've got Jason Leonard, Brian Moore, and Phil Vickery up front. We've got Martin Johnson and Maro Toje in the row. Richard Hill, Neil Back, Billy Vunipola in the back row. Dawson and Johnny Wilkinson, 9 and 10. We've got Greenwood and Guscott in the centres. Robinson and Rory Underwood on the outsides. And Josh Lucy at the back. We then have Trevor Woodman, Steve Thompson and Mako on the bench covering the front row. We've got Delalio and Launchbury covering the back row and the second row respectively. We've got Danny Kerr, Owen Farrell and Ben Cohen covering the backs. That's a pretty spicy 23.
Yeah, that is. God, those wings are dangerous, aren't they?
I mean, it's nearing 1,500 caps.
Good math. Have you been adding as we go along?
Yeah. My original team was 1,457 caps added in advance with the aid of a calculator. So I think I've lost Jeff Probyn, who didn't have very many caps, and otherwise it's just been a case of shifting people around.
Yeah.
So it's going to be there or thereabouts. Probably, let's say 1,450, something like that is the number of caps that our 23 has. Obviously, there are players who carried on after their peak and therefore, when they were at their best, they might have got 20 caps after that. So it doesn't quite add up. It's not like you can look at it and go, well, that would be a record number of... Because I think the record number of caps for a starting 15 is like 984 or 983 or something, which was New Zealand in, I think, the 2015 World Cup final.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
But no one's ever obviously exceeded 1,000 caps. But I did a quick bit of maths before, and 67 caps per player would be the 1,000 would exceed the 1,000 caps on the field. That's doable.
It's doable, and I'm sure one day.
Because what they say the issue is if you're fielding a side with that much experience, then you clearly lack kind of new blood coming through. And I would agree if lots of your players have got huge numbers of caps. But if everyone on your side had 66 caps, you'd say, these guys are by no means done in today's era, because the average number of caps is considerably higher. You kind of think that a kind of a world-class player these days is, barring injury, is going to get 70, 80, maybe 90 caps.
Yeah, it's easier these days to get the caps to add up fairly quickly.
It's why it's so impressive that Rory Underwood has 85 caps.
Yeah, and just how many tries he got, because how many caps does Ben Cohen have?
That's a good question. I don't know is the answer. I would imagine it's going to be around the same sort of mark as many others.
I don't think he has quite that many, but...
50, by like 50, 55, I think. I think Greenwood was 55, Josh Lucy was 55... So he would have been in and around that sort of area. I think they were all kind of the same sort of time, weren't they?
Yeah, he may even have slightly less than Greenwood. I mean, I'm surprised Greenwood only has 55. I thought he had a lot more.
No, Greenwood 55. But you look at someone like an Owen Farrell, who it feels like he's only just starting. He already has 53. Jason Robinson only had 51 caps for England. Owen Farrell already has more than him.
Wow. Farrell has been about a while and he's doing well. Yeah, I mean, Underwood's try scoring was just unbelievable, especially as you've got to bear in mind that it wasn't the best ever England team. Like, it wasn't the 2003 World Cup winning team.
No. And also, a lot of people I think would, think of the Underwoods and think, oh God, we're talking about, bygone era. But he played against Jonah Lomu. Didn't do particularly well against him. But they crossed over.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Was that Tony though?
Oh yeah, right. Actually, that might well have been Tony. Although no, because Rory Underwood was 84 to 96, and Lomu's big year was 95 World Cup, wasn't it?
He certainly came on the scene in the 95 World Cup. Yeah.
So I think they would have crossed over because Tony wasn't as good as Rory.
Tony wasn't as good as
Slightly
Rory.
Younger.
Yeah. No, but I think overall, I'm pretty happy with that team. I must admit, like, if we're honest, if the All Blacks did their greatest team, ours wouldn't look as good.
Wouldn't it?
Well,
No, probably not.
no.
Well, yeah,
And
that's this is why it's hypothetical. It doesn't matter what theirs would look like, because this is what our one looks like. I think this team would give any other world's greatest team from a single nation a pretty good run for its money. This is quite special. This team.
yeah, there's some absolute legends of the game in there.
So yeah, I think this would this is the one that would do it.
Yeah, and I wonder how much fun that's been for the listeners, or whether it was just you and me who had the fun doing it. But guys, please comment. Please let us know who we've missed.
Yeah, and bear in mind, Johnny Woodward, once again, all right, you suggested that we do this. Hopefully this lives up to what you wanted to get out of it. We enjoyed doing it. Guys, if you want to hear us do something similar, make a suggestion, and we will see what we can do.
What something similar would be?
I don't.
The all-time England netball team.
I mean, I think it's probably best if we stick to rugby. Just
okay,
I don't know, because we're the rugby pod. I don't know. Maybe these rugby fans want to hear about netball, but I might be away that week.
And something was worth mentioning as well. I am jumping. If anyone else also listens to Flats and Shanks podcast, which is, in fairness, a great podcast, I think it's around the 44-minute mark on the latest one, they completely mug off a guy called Ben Cooper. That is Ben Cooper, who is also involved with the England Rugby Pod. So please feel free to.
Was involved.
Yeah, was involved till he just shamed himself and us.
Yeah, exactly.
But everyone, please also feel free to jump in and send abusive messages to him, because he likes that.
Absolutely. Guys, we're going to take a bit of a break now. I think we'll probably come back in the new year. I can't remember the exact date. I think it was the first week of January, possibly the second or third, for our next episode. So yeah, in the meantime, enjoy your Christmases. Hope you get lots of nice presents. Let us know, in the new year, let us know what you want to hear from us, and come back for what will be the start of a big year for English rugby. We've obviously got the Six Nations kicking off in February, which is massive, and yeah, it's countdown time now rather than count up. It's all starting to get a little bit close. I know it'll only be 2018, but we'll be able to say it's the World Cup next year, and that's pretty big.
I'll let that go. Yeah.
Will we not be able to do that in 2018? Will we not be able to say it's the World Cup next
year?
Well,
right. Okay. I thought you meant we can say that. Yeah. No, sorry. You're right. I'm ignore me. So yeah, I'll just finish with, guys, thanks so much for listening. Really enjoyed it. Been a great year, and God bless you, everyone.